Hello and welcome to Oakville Matters. Thanks to your TV, this is our little corner of the internet and the cable where we get to have conversations about what matters to Oakville. And animals matter to Oakville a lot, whether it's your own, your neighbors, or nature's animals. And to discuss all three, we have the kind folks of the Oakville Milton Humane Society to uh, talk about this and find out what can and can't be done. Joining us today are Rick Brisant, Natalie Dukic, and Heather White. Rick, welcome. Why don't you introduce your colleagues and explain what you guys do?
Sure. Thank you for having us, first of all, Mayor Burton. Um, on our screen today, we have Heather White, who is our Manager of Community Outreach and Education. And as well, we have Natalie Dukic, who is our Administrative Officer with our Animal Protection Services team. As an organization, the Oakville and Milton Humane Society really does do so much for animals in our community. We are everything from looking at reuniting animals that have been lost with their owners. We as an organization adopt animals to loving forever homes. An important relationship would be one where we work, we have the Town of Oakville contract for animal protection services, which Natalie oversees, and that is to ensure that there's bylaw enforcement, but also to deal with animals that are running at large or that have been injured or sick. And as an organization, we've been doing an awful lot over the last while to tap into our educational needs of our community and working through areas such as virtual education due to COVID, and doing things such as our Families in Transition program, as well as things like our pet food bank. So we do a whole roster of various services to offer the community of Oakville.
So, Heather, that education portion, does that come to you by any chance?
A lot of it does. All of the departments are strongly involved in doing education around animals, but yes, a lot of it is me. And we run a number of programs here, from children's programs to adult speaker series on various topics of interest to the community.
Well, the two things that I see most are people wanting things to be done about coyotes, and second is people wanting things to be done about other people's dogs and sometimes cats. Uh, what do you tell people that you can do? Because we send everybody to you eventually.
Yeah, I'll field that one. You're right. Those are two big concerns, and there are a couple of things people should be aware of as pet owners in Oakville. We do bear some responsibility with regard to the safety of our pets and the safety of other people in the town. So, with regard to coyotes, the number one thing we can say to people is you need to be a responsible pet owner and keep your dogs off leash if they're not in a designated off leash area or on your own property. That's not just to do with coyotes, it's to do with the safety of the dog, because you can't guarantee your dog isn't going to run away from you. Even dogs with the best recall can be startled by something and run. But certainly coyotes have a lot to do with it. You want to monitor your pets in your backyard. We definitely encourage people to keep their cats indoors rather than having outdoor cats. Not only is that the bylaw in Oakville, but it's just it's for the safety of the animals as well.
So a coyote sees a small pet and probably thinks that that's a snack.
Yeah, I mean that is accurate. They are opportunistic feeders. So if it looks like a cat is the size of a rabbit or something else that they can hunt, then certainly that's going to be an opportunity for them to have a meal. We have to remember they're wild animals. They don't differentiate between domestic pets and wildlife. So yes, that is the number one reason we really recommend having indoor cats as opposed to outdoor cats, because it is something a coyote will definitely happily hunt.
Yeah, I may have misled everyone a little bit because I was a little imprecise about who we send to you. Complaints about dogs off of their leash, we actually send those to municipal enforcement. But it is an ongoing naughty problem because there are some Oakville residents who just I guess they just believe their privilege level is so high they don't have to obey that bylaw. Uh, but I'm pretty sure you guys don't have to deal with that, do you?
We do actually. We are contracted by you, the town of Oakville, through municipal enforcement to deal with those specific animal control issues. So yeah, we do.
So when I think I'm sending municipal enforcement, I'm really sending you.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. It eventually makes its way down to us. That's right.
What's it like, Heather? Do you, well, anybody, when you talk to your people who go out on those calls, what's their, what do they report? What's it like dealing with people on those calls?
Well, it is an ongoing challenge, definitely. You're right that there are a lot of people who don't really understand the bylaw and their obligations with regard to it. So it is challenging. People do need to know that it is the law that you have to keep your dog on leash, but also it is just courtesy as well. It is the town's public property is for the enjoyment of everyone. Some people are afraid of dogs. Some people don't like dogs. Some people have had traumatic events with dogs in the past. So you having your dog off leash, even if your dog is friendly and has great recall, that person isn't necessarily that's not going to matter to that person if they're afraid of dogs. So it's about respect.
Yeah, it leads to the classic conflict. Person A says, I pay taxes, I paid for this park, I can use it the way I want. And person B comes along and says, I pay taxes, I paid for this park, and there shouldn't be animals running around threatening me.
Right.
So, their competing privilege level or their competing rights clash. And council has resolved it by passing a bylaw that says, okay, no, you don't get to let your dog run free, not even on our trails. But
That's right.
we do have some extraordinarily resistant characters. I can think of one who takes a pack of dogs out and off lead, and that continues to be a really big problem for us. Now, coyotes aren't the only problem. We also hear about foxes, because apparently foxes can be somewhat dangerous to very small pets. Do you get many fox calls?
We do. With foxes, it's less frequent than coyotes just because they're considerably smaller. But the thing to know about foxes is very similar to coyotes. They're not a threat to humans. They're not naturally predatory toward us. They want to go about their business, and the way to deal with them is very similar to the way you deal with coyotes. In that you don't want to show indifference. You want to change their behavior. So they're very habituated to humans from being around us, living in these urban areas. And you want to dehabituate them by doing what's called hazing. And there's a very helpful video about that on the Town of Oakville website.
Yeah, one of the underlying problems we've discovered is we've got a whole bunch of very kind. I think the residents think they're being very kind, but they're putting food out one way or another for the coyotes and the foxes and the whoever, and that always causes problems. So we also forbid people to feed wildlife. Not that we have 100% success with that bylaw either. My favorite fox story is before I was mayor. It's important to preface this story. This is before I was mayor. My wife had a Siamese cat that she loved, and he was a fairly destructive little fellow, and she had had his front claws removed. And so I'm sure that's going to and the cat has passed on since then. This is many years ago. So, I'm sure it alarms people when they hear that a cat had its claws lost. Anyway, I came home one day, and it was early evening. It was a beautiful day. The sun was beautiful through the trees. And my wife said, dinner's almost ready. Would you please go outside and find the cat and bring him in? Because I put his food down. And so I said, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to let your cat run free. Honest, I really did say that. And she said, it doesn't bother anybody. And so I'm obedient. I ran. She's not, but I am. I went out to look for this cat, which, P.S., I didn't particularly care for. And there so I'm standing at the front door, and there off to my left, near the property line with the neighbor, is this cat sunning himself in the beautiful golden light of the early evening. And 40 or 50 feet away, maybe 30 feet away, there's this beautiful, beautiful fox, and it's coming in stealthily on the cat. And I think for a brief moment, gee, if I just look the other way, this could be the end of my cat problem. And then the little angel on your shoulder goes, oh, but you'll be in hell with your wife. So I decide, well, I'm going to haze the fox. And I should have mentioned I'm in my stocking feet because I took my shoes off when I went in the house. So I go yada 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 hazing at the fox, and the fox looks over at me and goes, "Oh, you'll do," and starts coming after me. And I go, "The fox must have rabies." So I say to the cat, "You're on your own," and I run and go back in the house. And I'm going to the back to tell my wife about the sad fate of the cat. And she says, "Oh, never mind about the cat. He came in just before you did." So the cat beat me. So the cat had good sense about avoiding the fox. And I felt like an idiot hazing the fox that wasn't hazable, apparently. So anyway, uh, so anyway, now that we've established that the Humane Society does us a world of good, um, what are the challenges facing the Humane Society? What do we as a community need to know in order to keep you strong, and if you're not in a strong condition, get you strong?
I would say, that one of the first things is that pet ownership is a responsibility. It's a commitment that individuals make when they bring an animal into their home. And I sometimes don't think that people truly understand the responsibility that comes with it in terms of the care, the training, the medical upkeep that's essential for the animals, as well as food. And so that's one of the things that I think a family really needs to have those conversations about before they actually look towards adopting the animal. And also trying to understand what type of lifestyle they have and the animal and how it best fits within their environment. So those are some really important things that I think people need to be aware of. I would also say that, on that, building on Natalie's words, the importance of licensing their animals so that when animals are in fact running at large, it's really helpful for our team here at the OMHS to be able to reunite those animals with their homes when those animals have a license. It is a requirement, but not everyone is aware of that. So we strongly require and encourage people to make sure that their dogs are in fact licensed so we can get those animals back to their homes in a faster way.
Well, when you were talking about being careful about what pet you choose, it put me in mind of stories. I haven't actually heard one in Oakville. For all I know, there are Oakville residents also keeping these allegedly miniature pigs. But, in another municipality, I heard a funny story about a family that had one of these supposedly miniature pigs, and it got to be 300 pounds, and it wasn't so miniature anymore. And I think it got gifted to that local Humane Society. But have you had that problem here? Have we got orphan pet pigs?
Natalie, do you want to maybe answer that and then I can follow up?
Sure. Yeah, we have had occasional calls about prohibited animals in Oakville because people sometimes honestly don't know that they can't have, let's say, pigs or chickens or other sort of livestock type animals in Oakville. So we do deal with those from time to time.
Oh, and we get periodic long pleading emails from new residents all about for food adequacy and safety and whatnot and all. We've got to let them run a little farm in their backyard, and we have to kindly and gently say, yeah, no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen here. There are places where you can do that. You just didn't happen to buy a house where you can do that.
Right.
So But to return to my bigger question, which is, how do we support? How can we in the community and we at the town support the Humane Society? Make sure that you're strong and healthy and able to help us. Like I I've got to imagine that in the last 18 months you might have been stressed a little bit, and and I understand that Milton, uh, found somebody else to look after animal control. So, uh, what's the state of your health as an organization?
I would say that as an organization, the way people can help us obviously is through donations. There is an increasing need that's happened through this pandemic that we are seeing in our community.
So
For
I think,
example,
Rick,
yeah,
I think one of your animals is pleading for donations as you talk, because we can hear him.
oh yes, it's a constant around here where you hear dogs barking and out for walks. So it's an environment that you get used to. So I think he
Yeah.
just wants to chime in to say hi to everybody.
Well, I think it's adding authenticity to our conversation, but it's also adding a little bit of difficulty for some people, I'm sure, to hear you. But so donations are number one. Um, what else? Are you set where you are? I mean, you've got a big piece of land in a fairly central location. Um, what's your long-term outlook?
This facility that we're in here is well over close to 70 years. We're coming close to 70 years. And so we are, in fact, planning for a new facility for the organization to meet the changing needs that we're experiencing. We've been exploring what possibilities could exist for us across the area. And we have a building and property committee that's looking to make a decision very quickly about what those needs would be. But how it's changing for us as an organization is the Oakville and Milton Humane Society can really be a community hub for much more than just the services that we provide. It's a gathering place. And so we're taking that into consideration. And in addition, we obviously want to increase the size of the facility. For those of your viewers that have visited us, it's a fairly tight facility that we have managed to exist in for many, many years. But now is the time to start looking for a new sort of future for the organization. And that's hopefully what we're going to address within probably the next 3 to 5 years in total.
Well, how big is your building now? And is your building basically the same as it's been for 70 years?
It has had, the building, first of all, is around 14,000 square feet. So it's not a large facility. And it has actually had a couple of additions over the years to add in cat socialization rooms, for example, for us. The real challenge has been the space for animals. And so you have anybody that's visited our property sees trailers out on our property where we do house animals in 3 of those trailers. And in the other trailer, we've moved staff into the trailer just to make room for animals within the shelter. So places that used to be offices are now housing animals. And we have our animal protection services team and my executive team, I guess you could call it, that are in a trailer alongside the railway tracks. So it's been all for the animals, but it really is now something that we have to change moving forward for the future.
So I asked about that because 70 years ago or thereabouts, I'm pretty sure the population of Oakville would have been about 65,000 people. And according to the region of Halton, we're now 211,000. And according to them, uh, over the next 30 years, we might almost double our population. So it's I throw those numbers out there to sort of reinforce what you just said, Rick, about the need to plan for a bigger facility. I'm glad that I've been to your place quite a lot, and to my eye, you do have room to build a bigger building. which is a good thing because it's very hard to trade the land you've got, whoever you are, for another piece of land and make enough money to build a building. And so, you kind of wind up, when you go that route, doubling your work, so to speak, and doubling the odds against you. But no matter what you do, you're going to have to do some pretty significant fundraising, I would have to guess. Which of you gets to carry the workload on getting that ready? Because I mean, you're going to have to raise millions for that.
Yeah, that would be me. Myself and our development team, we're very fortunate to have a great group of fundraisers here at the organization. We'll be working towards putting together a fairly comprehensive strategy to be able to conduct a capital campaign in the future for us. Because as you mentioned, the needs are so great. And we obviously want to do that with the support of the community. We're very fortunate to have some very long-standing donors and supporters of our cause who just love animals. Oakville is absolutely a community that loves their animals. And so we are hopeful that when the time comes for us to ask for their generosity, that those individuals will step up and help us be able to deliver on what is our future vision for the OMHS.
Yeah, maybe, depending on how much you give, you could have a ladder where the more you give, the more pets you get or something. Yeah, I only jest, and thank you for being a good audience and laughing. So Heather, what if you could have one wish granted, what would it be in terms of the work that the community throws your way and the people you have to deal with?
Wow. Well, I guess we've really touched upon it actually, in the sense that having a new building that could connect the community with us and we could connect the people who care about animals with each other. I mean, really, that would be the ultimate from a perspective of how we can move the organization forward, help more animals, and engage more people.
Well, I asked because I got to think that it hurts the psyche, it hurts the head a little bit and the heart to have animals in trailers and people in trailers. Neither one is an ideal setup, is it?
No, but from the perspective, like in the interim, we have an amazing group of volunteers. We have an amazing group of staff who support the animals and support the community, even throughout COVID. Another thing that we've implemented is a robust foster program. So many of the animals have not spent the entire time in the shelter, in trailers, in kennels. They've actually spent an amazing time with amazing community members, engaging with the environment and waiting until their forever homes come along. And that's actually something that we want to continue. And so I guess along those lines, one of the other things that would be awesome that the community can help us with is providing more of those foster homes, particularly people who have experience with behavior problems or are willing to take on some of the more less thought of animals, in the sense of most people think of us for dogs and cats. They don't think of us for farm animals, but we do get those, and chickens and ducks on farms would be better than in a run. The other thing is small animals. Like right now we have an abundance of rabbits and we would love to put them into foster care until we can find homes for them. I'm serious. You walk into the room and all of these little baby bunnies are escaping out of their little kennel areas coming to greet you, which is awesome from a socialization perspective. Management a little more difficult. So getting them into families until we could find them homes would be awesome. So if people are thinking and they would like to open up their homes for a short period of time to work with some of these animals, that would be an amazing thing to help us out.
Well, that's the foster program's pure genius. There's a huge lineup to be a foster home for the guide dogs. So that makes me think that you might be tapping a little bit of interest off of that phenomenon. Natalie, how about you? What's your biggest wish if wishes were being granted?
Well, I think it's along the same lines. A new facility would be great because ultimately everything we do is in the service of the animals, and the new facility would allow us to have the the space that we need. It would allow us to have the, more updated technology, facilities, equipment, storage, all the things that would make our day-to-day caring for animals, both domestic and wild, because my team deals with wild animals every day. So that would be our ultimate goal. That would, I think, service everyone, the community, and everyone at the OMHS.
And let's close on a little bit of information about wild animals. What are the crazy rules around what happens to wild animals when you collect one? I'm not
So,
saying apprehend one, but collect one.
well, it depends on what's going on with the animal, but ultimately what the trajectory is for any wild animal is we do our best to catch them when they're injured or sick. We want to assess them, so we have a great team of registered veterinary technicians that assess every animal that we bring in. Some unfortunately can't be helped, so the most we can do is end their suffering. For example, right now it's good for people to know that it is distemper season. So skunks and raccoons especially will be affected by distemper. It's a neurological disorder and there's no cure, so we want to catch them and do our best to end their suffering. And other than that, any animal that is a candidate for one of the many wonderful rehabilitation facilities that we work with, we send them there.
Well, that's interesting because once upon a time, a raccoon ate its way into the roof of my house, and I hired a company to come and put a trap on the roof and catch the thing, and they took it away, and the next day it was back, and I asked him when I called him again to catch it again. So what did you do with it, and what are you going to do with it now? He said, well, I'm required to release it within a kilometer. And I said, oh, well, that's probably not a big challenge for the raccoon to get back.
True enough. Yeah, that is
All
a
right. Well, thank you very much for the time that you've spent with us today. And I hope that the town benefits from what they've heard. I hope they're motivated to help you more. Wouldn't it be something if an architect was to call you up and volunteer to design you a beautiful facility that you could then the design of which you could then use to, to motivate people to help you out and get your campaign underway. And thank you for watching and listening today. And call me or email me, mayor@oakville.ca, and we'll talk about what you want to know about.